Alright, hello MUCT 112L class. This is your remote lecture for week 5. For Theory 1, week 5 remote lecture. Okay, we're going to continue on with a number of the concepts that we dealt with in Friday's class, Friday of week 4. But there are going to be a couple of new things. So we're going to, there'll be at least three new concepts. We're going to introduce quite a few concepts here in the remote lecture. So we'll see if this works. Usually I do new concepts in the actual face-to-face class, but let's see if this works. Okay, first thing we're going to talk about is outlining of chords. Okay, up until now, when we have outlined chords in melodies, for instance, we have outlined them specifically in the context of the tonic triad, the one chord, which is this chord right here in major, this chord, this chord here in minor. Do, mi, sol, depending on your mode. And now in the Berkowitz, we are going to begin to outline other chords. Okay. And the first chord we are going to outline is the subdominant chord, otherwise known as the four chord, which is major in the major mode and minor in the minor mode because of the le here. So let's go ahead and for our warm-up today, we'll just go ahead and do a couple of exercises here in these two chords, in the two modes. So let's just start with our tonic triad that we know fairly well in major. Do, mi, sol. And as I point to them, we'll change the pitch. So sing along. Do, mi, sol, mi, do, mi, sol, mi, do. Now we'll go on to include the four chord. Do, mi, sol. Now to fa. Fa, la, do. Again. Fa, la, do, la, fa, la, do, la, fa. Back to do. Do, mi, sol. Fa, la, do. Let's go backwards. Do, la, fa, sol, mi, do. So hopefully by jumping around here and there, you will get a little bit of the sense of how that chord moves. Let's try it in minor. Do, mi, sol, mi, do. Let's try it. Do, mi, sol, mi, do. Again. Do, mi, sol, mi, do, mi, sol. Now to the four chord. Fa, le, do, le, fa, le, do, le, fa. Back to one. Sol, mi, do. All the way through. Do, mi, sol, fa, le, do, do, le, fa, sol, mi, do. I think I found a wrong place here. Do, mi, sol, fa, le, fa, sol, mi, do. All right. Okay, with that in mind, so the one and the four chord, open up your Berkowitz book, please, to page 26. Okay, this is where we ended on Friday, during Friday's class. We ended on page 26. Go to page 26, number 107. It says here, the next 8 melodies contain skips in the four chord in both major and minor. The four serving a predominant function. Okay, like similar to when we first outlined the one chord, first dealt with skips in major and minor mode. These will deal in pairs. So if you look at number 107 and number 108, their melodic contours are identical, but that one is in major and one is in minor, or one is in minor and one is in major, depending on which way they're going to do it. So starting in number 107, let's roll D major. Okay, we're going to begin the outline of the 1 and 4 chords exactly as we did here. With rhythm this time, though. 1 and 2 and 3. Do, mi, sol, fa, la, do, sol, fa, mi, re, do, re, mi, re, do, mi, sol, la, third measure from the end, where we have the 4 chord again. It wasn't strictly in order, as this one was. It was a little bit of an inversion. Okay, so it would be good, just like we have in the 1 chord. If you know it's the 1 chord, and if you know the 3 syllables of the 1 chord, you can find any one of the pitches, even if they're jumping all over the place. Same is true with the 4 chord. Okay, even though it's do, mi, sol, la, fa, do, but if you know your fa, la, do, if you know your syllables of the 4 chord, then you won't be able to get lost there. So let's try it in the same key, number 108, same key, different mode. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, fa, mi, re, do. Okay, this one is a true harmonic minor. All 6 lowered. The only 7th scale degree you see is raised. 1 and 2 and 3. Do, mi, sol, fa, le, do, sol, fa, mi, re, do, re, mi, re, do, mi, sol, le, fa, do, sol, fa, mi, re, do, ti, do. Good. Turn over to page 27, and let's do the next pair, 109 and 110. Are another pair of identical melodic contours, but different modes. Number 109 is in D major, number 110 is in D natural minor. You can tell it's in natural minor because there are no accidentals in it. Okay, this time we're going to open the 1 chord and the 4 chord kind of in reverse order. Do, sol, mi, so that's in an inversion. Sol, do, la, fa, la. So just like we did here when we went this direction. So let's give it a try. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Do, sol, mi, sol, do, la, fa, la. Do, re, do, ti, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do, re. Mi, sol, do, mi, fa, la, do, la, sol, la, sol, fa, mi, re, mi, do. All right, let's do number 110, the matching pair here. Da, 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 da. There's natural minor, 2, 3 and 4. Do, sol, mi, sol, do, le, fa, le, do, re, do, te, le, sol, fa, mi, re, do, re, mi, sol, do, mi, fa, le, do, le, sol, fa, mi, re, mi, do. All right, so that's the natural minor. The next pair, 111 and 112, begins with natural minor and then ends, or not natural minor, it begins with minor and goes to major. Number 111. Okay, briefly analyze. See where the 1 chord is. The first measure is mostly the 1 chord. Do, sol, do, me, re, do. It has a little passing tone in there. Then the second measure, fa, do, fa, le, sol, fa. Again, another passing tone, but still indicative of the outline of the 4 chord, minor 4 chord in this case. Okay, all the 7th scale degrees we encounter are raised. That's a good sign. And all the 6th scale degree we encounter are lowered. So again, another harmonic minor mode. Let's reestablish do. We're probably all over the place now. Not pretty close. Do. I would recommend doing this one low, actually, unless you've got some incredibly high range, which I do not today, having a cold. Do, sol, do. We'll start there. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6. do, sol, do, mi, re, do, fa, le, sol, fa, sol, mi, do, ti, do, re, sol, sol, fa, do, fa, le, sol, fa, mi, do, mi, sol, fa, mi, re, do, ti, do, sol, do. And if you found I made a mistake in that last second to last measure on the second beat, you were right. I did. I went to sol instead of fa. So if you got it right, kudos. All right, let's do the same thing in major mode. Now I'm not going to sing the major mode. I'm going to roll it there. See if you can catch it immediately. So kind of switch your ears to major. Do is our still one. Same contour, different mode. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6. Do, sol, do, mi, re, do, fa, la, sol, fa, sol, mi, do, ti, do, re, sol, sol, fa, do, fa, la, sol, fa, mi, do, mi, sol, fa, mi, re, do, ti, do, sol, do. Good. And the last pair in this particular set, minor, then major. This one is a melodic minor example. Melodic minor example. Okay, watch where the outlines of the tonic and subdominant triads are. Some in the first measure, some in the fourth measure. So let's try that. All right. Do. 6/8 time again. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6. Do, mi, sol, do, te, le, sol, do, le, do, sol, mi, fa, le, do, mi, sol, do, re, do, ti, la, ti, do, do. Okay, and let's make the quick switch to major mode in number 114. 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 5, and 6. Do, mi, sol, do, ti, la, sol, do, la, do, sol, mi, fa, la, do, mi, sol, do, re, do, ti, la, ti, do, do. Good. All right, that's the end of these pairs. But let's turn the page over to 28. We're doing kind of a lot of these today in this remote lecture, but it's all right. I trust you guys to be able to handle this stuff. Page 28. Let's just do 2 more. Okay, so they're not doing the little pairs anymore where it's obvious. They're going to do just melodies, slightly longer melodies that are going to use these, but not necessarily in their complete forms. They're just going to use them to see if we can catch where they are. So on number 115, that waltz, we've got an anacrusis, a sol-do anacrusis, which again is the most common way to treat an anacrusis, is to sol-do to 5-1 to establish the key right away. If you look through here, the first, second, third complete measure, you have a la, fa, la, and that's only 2 notes, but you can probably surmise La and Fa are probably outlining the 4 chord, even though Do is not part of it. The next measure after that, you have Sol Mi. And though you don't have the complete tonic triad, you're probably outlining the tonic triad there, especially in the next measure as you land on Do on the downbeat. Okay, so really only 2 notes out of the triad need to be there for you to make a pretty strong case that you're outlining any one of the triads. So let's find the key of E flat major. Let's go ahead and sing through this. So Do. Here we go. 2 measures. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2. So Do Re Mi Fa Sol 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 La Fa La Sol Mi. Do Re Mi Fa Sol 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 Fa Mi Re. Do La Sol Fa La Sol Mi. Do Fa Mi Re Fa Mi Do. Sol La Ti Do Re Mi Fa Sol Sol La Sol Fa Mi Re Do. So as you can see, adding the subdominant triad doesn't make it any particularly more scary. It just it gives you more options. All right, let's just do one more. This moderate one here, number 116, key of, relatively rare, key of B major. All right, this is another anacrusis. This is cut time. It's cut time, so it's done in 2, and this comes in on 2. Okay, bum. This comes in on Sol Mi Do, outline of the tonic triad. Let's take it in a nice slow 2. 1 E and 2 E and 1 and Sol Mi Do Re Mi Fa Mi Re. Sol Mi Do Re Mi Fa Re. Do Mi Sol Sol Fa La Do Ti La Sol Fa Mi Re Mi. Do Mi Sol Sol Fa La Do Ti La Sol Fa Mi Re Do. Good. All right, let's close the Berkowitz books up and jump over to the Kazez, and let's have a look at another. It's not exactly a new concept. It's just an expansion or an extension of a concept we looked at already on Friday. Remember Friday we were talking about the dotted rhythms. Okay, and how it was very, very important that we subdivide T, 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 T. Okay, and remember what the dot does. Excuse me. Remember what the dot does. This is 2 beats. You add the dot, and it adds half of the note value. So this plus half of it to equal that. Okay, so we're just going to expand upon that concept and talk about the double dot. So go to page 49 in the Kazez book, and let's talk double dotting. Double dotting. Okay, so a double dot just extends upon what the single dot was already doing. So the single dot takes half of the note value and adds it to itself. So we take that and add that. Okay, that's what the single dot does. A double dot, the second dot, takes half of the length of what the dot was and adds it to it as well. So half of the dot, which in this case was half of a quarter, was an eighth. This next dot adds a 16th note. Okay. Now, it is entirely possible, I mean, theoretically, triple and quadruple and quintuple dots are possible. I've never seen one. I'm sure one exists, but I've never seen one before. 2 is the most we ever do. Okay, so a double dotted quarter note is 1 3/4 beats. Okay, it is the equivalent of this. So 1 3/4 beats. A dotted eighth note is 3/4 of a beat. So if you had a 2/4 bar and you were going to complete it, you would end up with T, 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 T. So it's kind of like taking this figure and adding a quarter note to the front of it, which is actually exactly what it is. Personally, I much prefer this figure. Excuse me. I much prefer this figure because the beats are together. Here's 1, here's 2, and we're tying them. I much prefer it to this, even though these are the same. T, 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 T. And this one is just more confusing. Unfortunately, it's kind of an industry standard. It's kind of what's done all the time. So let's just grin and bear it and make it happen. Page 49 of the Kazez, number 82. Let's try it. Okay, remember always to subdivide. Number 82. 1E and a 2E and a 1E and a 2E and a T, 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 T. All right. Now let's try number 83, putting this in context with all of the other dotting things that we dealt with before, the dotted rhythm, the inverse dot or the reverse dot or the Scottish snap. That exists here in number 83 as well. All right, almost sneezed there. I probably will before this is done. We're in 4/4 time, common time, or the broken perfect time like we talked about in Friday's class. But be careful of rests, of which there are not too many. And be careful also of the meter changes. Here we go. 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a T, 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 ticky, T, 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 ticky, 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 T, 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 ticky, ticky. T, 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 ticky, T, 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 ticky, T, ticky, 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 T, off. All right. Now, if that one was a little tricky for you, pull the slider back on the video here and do it again. Okay, do any of these things again if they give you any trouble at all. All right, let's just do one more rhythm, and then we're going to do another thing here. On page 50, we're just expanding the double dot to larger note values. In this case, the half note. So, dotted half note equals 3 beats. Okay, and the dot is equal to a quarter note because it's half of a half note. So the second dot will be an eighth note. Okay, so it'll be 1, 2, 3 and a half beats. Okay, 3.5 beats. And if you wanted to complete a 4/4 measure with this, you just have a little eighth note ready. So 3 and 4 and T, T, T and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay. Okay, so it's almost a whole note. It's almost equal to a whole note, but it doesn't quite ever get there. So let's do number 84, the 84, excuse me, 84, the preparatory drill, just that one, and then we'll go on to something else. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. T, 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 T. All right, let's continue on. All right, now this is an entirely new concept. Okay, so far in this class, those of you who took it last quarter and those of you who have been taking it so far this quarter, we have dealt with a lot, obviously, with sight singing, also in singing in parts, duets and things like that, intonation of intervals, identification of scales, identification of different chords, major, minor, augmented, and diminished. We've done, of course, rhythmic reading. You've done melodic dictation. Okay, so this is the last major skill that we're going to deal with in the class. And basically what we'll do for the rest of the 2-year sequence is expanding upon all of the skills that we've learned. So almost all of the skills are here. Okay, the only thing we haven't introduced yet is 7th chords. We're mostly there on intervals. There's a little bit more we're going to do with intervals. 7th chords. There is also 4-part singing SATB or choir scores and things like that. And let's see, I'm forgetting one, but one of the ones that we have not yet dealt with is harmonic dictation, and this is kind of a big one. Because it's a very complicated skill, or it's got a lot of moving parts to it. We're going to start very easy. We're going to start way back. If you remember when you first took pre-algebra, or the first time you saw an x in an equation, x plus 1 equals 2. What is x? Okay, so kind of pre-algebra, dealing with the unknowns. This is kind of how we're going to start it today. We're going to start. This is going to be pre-harmonic dictation. Pre-harmonic dictation. Okay, so I can let you know what harmonic dictation will eventually be. What full harmonic dictation is a grand staff, treble, and bass, and I play 4 parts at the same time on the piano, and you write down what you hear. This is just a 3-voice one. These will usually be 6 or 7 voices, and give their harmonic analysis. So what I do, I play this on the piano, you'll hear it and write it down. Now, if that seems scary to you, don't worry, because we're going to go pre-harmonic dictation. Before we get anywhere close to this, we're going to learn a couple of the basic skills that will make this much, much easier. And I've been kind of developing this, kind of the teaching technique for this over the 10 years that I've been here at La Sierra, and I think it seems to be working over at UCR as well. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to learn to identify chord qualities. Now, you already know how to do that in the musictheory.net assignments you're doing, where the computer plays a major chord, you say major, minor chord, you put minor, augmented chord, you put augmented. Okay, so you've already done much of that. What we haven't done yet is do several of them, or multiple of these things in a row. Okay, so here, up until now, it's just been this. Okay, and then you hit the button that says major scale, and then we do this. And then you hit the button that says diminished, chord rather, not scale. What we're going to do is we're going to play 4 chords in a row. Now they're all going to have the same root. They're all going to have C at the bottom. Okay, so you are just going to identify the qualities of the chords as they take place through time. So let me give you an example. And what I would like you to do for Friday's class is get a piece of staff. You don't even need a piece of staff paper for this, because we're not writing any notes down. You just need a piece of paper. Get a piece of paper, label it 1 through 6. 1 through 6, and bring me the answers to next Friday's class, and we'll go over them before we go through our normal class activities on Friday. Okay, so this is an assignment to prove that you did this, okay, because it's kind of toward the end of the video. We're getting there. This is the little secret thing. If you show up with your paper with the 6 attempts, I'm not expecting that you're going to get all of them right, but if you do, good. I'll know if you were watching this video carefully or not. I'm going to give you the first answer too. Okay? But so for number 1, I am going to play 4 chords in a row, and I want you to put the identification of the chords. You don't have to do it with the entire name of them. You can just use the abbreviations. So big M for major, little m for minor, big A for augmented, little d for diminished. Okay? This is not any of the answers as far as I know, but this will, these are the symbols you're going to use, okay? So we're going to try those out. Number 1, I'm going to play, and then I'm going to give you the answer so you can see if you're on the right track. All right, so here is how pre-harmonic dictation is going to sound. Okay, I'm just giving you the major chords so you can get a feel for it. And here's number 1. Okay, and of course you can listen to this as many times as you want. Just pull the slider back. What I did is I played major, then I played minor, and I played major again, and then I played augmented. Okay, so that's the answer to number 1. Okay, you have number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, and number 6 to do. Okay, let's go right through them. Here's number 2. Ready, go. All right, number 3, ready, go. All right, time for number 4, ready, go. All right, number 5, ready, go. And number 6, ready, go. Okay, so write all those down and bring them to class on Friday. The purpose of doing this is so that you can hear the qualities of chords in time. Now, this is kind of pre-harmonic dictation 1. I guess we can call it pre-harmonic dictation 1. Pre-harmonic dictation 2 will be the same thing, except we are going to add a bass line that you're going to have to write. Okay, so what will happen is we'll have a bass line, and I'll do, and the bass line will change, and the chords will change their roots too. So maybe it'll be do, re, mi, do in the bass, while I play a major chord, then a minor chord, then an augmented chord, then a diminished chord, for instance. That will be pre-harmonic dictation 2. And then pre-harmonic dictation is when we start using the actual chord symbols. Like that. Okay? And we'll do a lot of that. We will basically do all of the chromatic harmony, all of the diatonic and chromatic harmony with bass only. We'll get really good at it. You'll learn of all the systems of extrapolation and stuff that I'm going to teach you before we ever go to more voices, okay? So we're going to keep it simple. We're going to keep it simple, but it's really important that you can identify the qualities of chords always. And we're going to add, when we learn the 7th chords, there are 5 different kinds of 7th chords that we're going to learn. We're going to learn them in that context as well. All right? All right, good luck. I'm looking forward to seeing you guys on Friday and checking your answers and having a good time. We'll see you then.